talk about the spooky, scary event that took place.
Spooky,
Are you
scary events.
scared of the M3's 18 tops being the next gen AI PC? All right.
Can we
Well,
take that any? I don't think we can take it any farther.
no, I got
So
nothing.
no, listen. Apple scheduled a 30-minute event during an NFL game and during the World Series the day before Halloween. I guess it could have been even worse. It could have been on Halloween,
Well,
which distinctly indicated to me that this was a complete and total rush job to respond to a couple things. First of all, was Qualcomm coming out and doing the SmackDown and showing these were measured by Qualcomm and not More Insight and Strategy or Futurum Labs, but they were industry standard benchmarks that they let us watch them perform. And they showed this incredible performance per watt, not just with the 45 tops, but also with this incredible CPU that they put in here. That, I mean, Qualcomm didn't have the numbers, but showed that it outperformed. Sorry, didn't have M3 numbers, but showed that it outperformed pretty much all of the M2 line. And then Apple's spooky event, Rush Spooky event, was also a reaction to what Intel is doing, where they're talking about the AI PC, where CEO Pat Gelsinger is talking about on earnings calls. They made an announcement about 100 ISV. I saw that, Dan, that would support it. And
long day, everybody.
yeah, they would support that. And then at the Intel Innovation event, they Intel talked about as well. So all of these things going on, you've got AMD, right, talking about their AI PC. So Apple had to feel some pressure. And by the way, folks, according to some industry analysts that are not mine or Dan, Intel units, Apple units went down 24%. And I saw that as not that people don't like Macs, but they stuffed the channel the quarters before, because these analyst reports are about sell in, right? They're stuff that was sold into the channel, not consumption and sales out. And what we saw yesterday was that Mac revenue went down 34%. So you can imagine all the pressures of this. But let me cut to the chase. M3 looks like the same microarchitecture as M2 and M1. It is on a potentially improved process, which is the quote unquote 3 nanometer TSMC process. We saw some challenges with the iPhone 15 when it came in with their quote unquote 3 nanometer TSMC process-based processor that led me to believe that they were having issues because of the overheating. And just because they could fix it with a software tweak doesn't mean it wasn't a chip issue, because how often does Apple screw this up, right? Like you do thermals and you do software around a certain guardrails of your chips. So hence we have M3, where I expected just a desktop, but we got an iMac plus a MacBook Pro. We did not get Airs. And when I step back and I look at I look at what's going to happen in the industry in the middle of the year, I believe I've seen numbers. Again, I didn't run these numbers myself, that Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite will outperform at least the M3 Pro version on single-threaded and multi-threaded CPU benchmarks. Didn't run it, just speculating. And it appears that the Snapdragon X Elite will have 2.5 times the NPU performance as the Apple event. And the reason I'm putting so many disclaimers here, folks, is not just that I didn't run any of these numbers myself, but that there are no independent third-party reviews of any M3 based product. So net, I still think that Qualcomm looks really good mid-year. And I think that this is not going to be this is not some M3 comes in and wipes everybody up again like we saw with M1. And it makes sense, right, Dan? You pointed out on the AMD thing that I used to work there and a couple other things. But here's what I know. Here's what I learned over many years. You can't stretch a microarchitecture too far. 3 variations, and then you can make it smaller. You can attach them together like Intel has intelligently done. You can go to new packaging, and the competition still has yet to do integrated memory like Apple does that gives it a little bit of an advantage there, but it is getting long in tooth. Okay. And I would expect that this Rev 4, M4 would have to be a brand new microarchitecture. TSMC is slowing down. It's hard to get the benefits of doing transistor level architectural shifts. You could throw a bunch of more cache on there, but cache means it's a bigger chip. Anyways, I've gotten so geeky. I just need to stop.
You covered my topic well. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Was this your topic first?
Who's counting? But
God, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. I kind of paused for a minute and you jumped right in there. So look, I actually will just make a couple of little ads and then we'll send everybody on their way. First of all, this seemingly was a reaction, and we can speculate, but a reaction to the impressive outputs from the week prior, just based on when it came out, and the fact that it was kind of awkwardly timed. To their credit, I actually wish they would do all their events this quickly. I'll watch it
30
back.
minutes.
I don't need 2 hours. You do it all in 30. Let's speed it up. Because for me, I like to consume it in less time. I think your point about microarchitecture is very important. I think that clearly there's some issue with TSMC and what they're getting out of the 3 nanometer. It just doesn't seem generationally like it's that big of an improvement. And to your kind of comments about the Mac numbers, it's a little scary out there. That's not good performance.
What's scary is a 34% revenue decline.
34%. But to your point, they kind of held stronger when others were doing really bad. So at some point, maybe the theme of this is the music has to stop.
Yeah.
The music has to stop. And I think at some point it's their time. Now they had that 8th quarter of revenue decline or whatever it was, or 4th quarter. I can't remember what it was. It's a big difference, by the way, 4 and 8. But I know it's a multi-quarter decline, and that is alarming. Having said that, by the way, kind of unrelated to the event, but Apple did see 16% growth in services. And you do know that the hardware era is going to end. And that is the one part that I kind of wonder if they can get that going. And by the way, Pat, 16, I know, not that exciting. Look at you.
No. What do we know now is that the, I don't know, $20 billion that Google pays Apple is part of that service revenue. If not all of it.
It's a pretty important one, ain't it?
No, isn't that like it came out? So there was a redacted, but what came out through the Google FTC, I'm 80% sure of this, by the way, but I tracked where else would it show up?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's material. It's material for sure. And so that's going to be an interesting part of their business to watch. Now, Pat, one big thing too is this: the neural processor doesn't cut it. It just doesn't. It's not going to cut it for what these AI kind of PCs are trying to do longer term. Now, again, Apple might have another announcement in 3 months, and it might be at 50 tops or whatever. But at this spec, it doesn't seem to be very compelling in that particular arena, which is, it's going to be important, and I guess we'll see longer term. But I'm not running to a store to buy an M3 if I'm an Apple customer, and I have an iMac. I'm not seeing generation to generation improvements that encourage me to run store to store. But let's face it, they haven't been doing that with their phones either. So I guess for people that care about performance, maybe that's not really where Apple wants to play. Someone said to me the other day, the people that buy Apple can't spell Qualcomm. So the question mark is always going to be, are they going to be the best marketing company? And they probably are, probably have been, probably will be